Well, hey, how are you doing? Thanks for joining with me in the book of Psalms in our Bible reading challenge. Today we're looking at Psalm 119. Now, it is a very, very long psalm, about a just shy of 200 verses. So you say, how am I going to go through that today? Well, I encourage you to listen to it. I encourage you to read through it. Go over it as you listen to it. That might be a good way to do it. We're actually probably going to break this, excuse me, into two parts. And so I want to start today by reading some of the early verses so you can see that the psalmist begins with a heartfelt desire to be obedient to the ways of the Lord, to God's commands. He says in verse 5, "Oh, that my ways were steadfast in obeying your decrees." He goes on, he says, "I consider your commands, and I will praise you with an upright heart." So, how is he going to do this? How is he going to always have the commands and the thoughts, the ways of the Lord upon him? And he says he's going to do this by putting it into his heart. Listen to verse 11. Might be a familiar one to you. He says, "I have hidden your word in my heart that I might not sin against you." And he goes on and he talks about with my lips. He's reciting it back to God aloud. He says, "I meditate," or "I thoughtfully think about and consider these things," is what that means. And I consider them, he says. That's in verses 13 and 15. So just want you to know that, to understand that memorizing, that meditating, that reciting carefully through the Word of God is a long since known practice that has helped people through generation after generation. So I would encourage you to do the same. And as you do that, it puts you in a position where you are always thinking about the Word of God and how that applies to your life. And that's exactly what I think we all long to do as followers of Jesus Christ. So I want to encourage you with that. And we, like Nehemiah, can ask God, "You know my heart, Lord. Remember me." And that's what the psalmist does here. In verse 17, he says, "Be good to your servant while I live, that I might obey your word." So our prayer today is, may we truly long to honor God and the Word of God that we have in our hearts. So God bless you, and thank you for joining in.